Hi, my name is Jada Young, and today I will be presenting Two Truths and a Lie, a guide to teaching critical thinking in sixth grade ELA. So, first up are the objectives. First, we'll define critical thinking, and then we'll discuss educational research on critical thinking and how it impacts gifted learners. And then we'll develop a lesson to teach critical thinking from a creative, differentiated approach. So, what is critical thinking? Kettler defines critical thinking as reflective thinking using principles of reason, logic, and evidence to analyze, evaluate, and construct consistent and coherent arguments, understandings, and judgments. So, how does critical thinking impact gifted students? Critical thinking can be difficult for educators to teach for several reasons, and it is often overlooked. But according to research presented by Kettler, the largest student gains have been found where critical thinking skills were developed separately and then applied directly to learning tasks within content specific instruction. This researcher also found that opportunities for dialogue and discussion have shown evidence of improving students' critical thinking skills, especially when the teacher poses quality questions to the whole class or to small groups of students. He also found that gifted students may be more proficient at critical thinking than their grade level peers. So, for this reason, or for these reasons, it is best for teachers to accelerate the content to promote stronger development and use of critical thinking skills in gifted education classrooms. So on this slide, we have a table that features the critical thinking and Common Core State Standards for language arts. The Common Core State Standards do not specifically outline definitions of critical thinking. However, they include different standards that embed different elements of critical thinking, as we see here, for the following domains, which include reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Students can engage and develop their critical thinking skills after reading a text through making inferences or even writing arguments to support a claim. Students can also draw evidence from a literary text to write reflections or even do their own research. So, one way that teachers can teach critical thinking skills in their ELA classrooms is by reading a text such as Holes, written by Louis Sacker. So students will work in groups to develop two truths and one lie about the concepts of fate, interconnectedness, and friendships. These elements are just a few of the many concepts embedded in this novel, but I chose these three because they spark a lot of critical thinking skills or critical thinking concepts that I think gifted students would love. This would be a really great formative or summative assessment after reading the novel. Teachers can even adapt this lesson so that students can work on or develop questions after reading like 3 chapters at a time. It's really up to the teacher. Additionally, this lesson meets the standards or meets the requirements of standards one for reading and writing standard one and speaking / listening standards 3 and 4. So this is how the lesson works. Students will work to answer a question. For example, how does fate impact our destiny? Use examples from the text. Students will analyze the question thoughtfully using textual evidence to support their answer. Um, this is one of the truths because students will have or find evidence to support it. Therefore, it will be considered a truth because there's evidence that they can find in the text to support their answer. The second truth that students would explain is, what role does interconnectedness play in friendship? Use examples from the text. And just like the first question, they will analyze the question thoughtfully and use textual evidence to support their answer. And now we move on to the lie. This is where it will get interesting. So students will evaluate the question or pose their own to form and defend a claim. Then they will share their perspectives with the class and listen to their classmates' perspectives, creating a friendly debate. So the lie isn't totally false, and it also may not be true, but students will use their own logic and their own experiences to come up with reasonable conclusions to defend their claim. In conclusion, critical thinking is a hallmark of gifted education, and gifted students thrive in environments that nurture their creativity. Open discussions encourage critical thinking, and activities like Two Truths and a Lie engage critical thinking skills. Thank you for watching my presentation. I hope you find it helpful and useful in your own classrooms.